Hello everybody, this is JT Productions and welcome back to another preview and prediction video. Today I'll be doing the Middle Tennessee State Blue Raiders. Last season, Middle Tennessee State went 7-6, 4-4 in Conference USA with 2 wins to end the season, one against Florida Atlantic and one against Toledo. In the games they lost Old Dominion by 7, who's not in the conference anymore. They lost in a blowout loss to Western Kentucky and Bailey Zappi. They lost to Malik Willis and Liberty. They lost to Charlotte by less than a touchdown. They lost to UTSA by 2 scores. And then they lost to Virginia Tech in a blowout. So, you had some losses that were kind of head-scratching, but with a head coach coming to his 17th season, he should know how to turn things around. As I was saying, Rick Stockstill is in his 17th season at Middle Tennessee State. How's that going to help them? They have veteran head coaching staff, and they're usually the upper tier of Conference USA, so let's look at what they're working with on their team. Well, Chase Cunningham is back as a redshirt senior. They have Frank Peasant, sophomore running back. This depth chart is not fully filled out, so we have some questions as well. You also have backup quarterback Nicholas Vadiato, I guess is how you say it. Wide receivers, you have senior Isaiah Gathings, sophomore Jalen Lane, and redshirt senior Yusuf Ali. Offensive line is incomplete, so we're just going to go to defense. You have redshirt sophomores on the defensive line, plus a redshirt senior defensive end in Jordan Ferguson. Linebackers, you have a redshirt sophomore, senior, and redshirt sophomore. The senior is Jonathan Butler. In the secondary, you have redshirt junior, redshirt sophomore, junior, and redshirt junior. So your team got some talent. Can they put it together? Well, let's see what I think. Week 1, you go to James Madison, who is now in the Sun Belt, to play your first non-conference matchup. They used to be in the FCS, and I believe that Middle Tennessee State is more talented than them, so I think Middle Tennessee State gets the win in Harrisonburg in Week 1 to start out 1-0. Then you go on the road again. If you had teams like at Houston and at James Madison, I would say that this would be it's still going to be a hard 2-game stretch because you're going on the road to halfway across the country both times, but both these teams are not going to be good this year, so I think you start out 2-0, and then you play Tennessee State. You should win that game as well, so I think you start out 3-0 on the year. After that, you go on the road to Miami of Florida, and I don't think you go win that game. Miami of Florida is just more talented than you. You could make it interesting like App State did last year, but I don't think that's going to happen this year. So I think you start out 3-1, then you get into conference play against UTSA. It's going to be another difficult game. Frank Harris is a great quarterback for them. They got a bunch of pieces that if they get their offense rolling, they're going to be pretty daggum good. So I think that you lose this game at home against UTSA to start out conference play with a loss. 3-2 before you go on the road to UAB, and I think you get the win. UAB, they're under a first-year head coach, and I think that the experience of Rick Stockstill is going to shine through, and you're going to be able to win this close game in Birmingham to start out to go to 4-2. And before your bye week, you play, I forget what this rivalry is called. Let me look that up right quick. It's against Western Kentucky. Rivalry. The 100 Miles of Hate. That's what it was. I remember hearing about that. That's a pretty crazy name for a rivalry, honestly. You have like the War on I-4 in the Group of 5 off the top of my head. But that's a pretty good name for a rivalry. I do think you're going to win this game. Western Kentucky is going to take a step or 2 steps back from last year. So I think you'll win this game. Got a 5-2 going into your bye week. Then coming out of your bye week, you have 2 back-to-back road games in the Conference USA, one against UTEP and one against Louisiana Tech. Both are going to be difficult games, but I gave you a win in both of these. I think Louisiana Tech is probably a year away from being really competitive, and UTEP, they're kind of just middle of pack, sputtering like they always do. So now you're 7-2 before coming back home for 2 home games against Charlotte and Florida Atlantic. Charlotte, you should win that game easily. Now you're 8-2. Then you play Florida Atlantic. Florida Atlantic can be a dangerous team. They still have N'Kosi Perry, who transferred in from Miami a couple of years ago. It's going to be a close game, I think, but I do think you get the win in the end with a veteran quarterback. So you go into the last week of the season at 9-2, and you go on the road to Florida International to take on the Panthers in Miami, and I believe you get the win there to finish the season 10-2. At this point, our second best record of a Conference USA team. So if they hold that record, they could end up in the Conference USA Championship. Big step up from last year, and I think it's really in the realm of possibility. At first, when I was doing these, trying to figure out the records, I had you at 8-4, but then taking another look, I think 10-2 is well in the range of possibility. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and Go Dogs.